a slug. An eel. Come, push your friend into the pool.
In this video, you'll find out what's going on with the Eels in Aretuza. We'll explain this shocking plot twist in Season 1 of The Witcher on Netflix and put it in context of the books. Subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next video. On the Linus Wilson channel, we cover The Witcher Netflix, The Witcher games, and other fantasy TV shows such as Vikings. Okay, I'm going to show you the first clip where they mention the eels and Yen discovers that her classmates are being turned into eels. This is from Season 1, Episode 2, 4 Marks.
Come forth, Yennefer. You turned my friend into a slug. An eel. Come, push your friend into the pool. No. Yes. I took away her control, but she still has power. She's a conduit. For Aretuza. Sometimes the best thing a flower can do for us is die. Chaos is the most dangerous thing in this world. But without control, chaos will kill you.
So in Tissaia's twisted logic is that these girls were chaos without control, and the only way to keep them from unleashing their chaos in ways that would hurt the world would be to turn them into eels and then power packs for the rest of Aretuza that they would draw from their power to do magic at Aretuza. This is not in the books, that girls from Aretuza, to the extent that we know what happens to them if they don't succeed in ascending to become sorceresses. We heard of one, for instance, that was a lawyer, right? She went on to be a lawyer instead of an eel. So this is a show thing, and it is basically leaning into the horror and shock value of Aretuza. Now, I don't think it's totally inconsistent with the themes of the books, and that there are a lot of mages that go too far in a lot of the short stories, and they try to play God, and obviously Tissaia is playing God with her academy. Now, you could not get away with what Tissaia is doing if you had enrollees, for example, because their families would want to know what happened to my daughter. Why did she disappear at your institution? And that would be really bad for enrollment. And one of the things they talk about later in the show is that they need well-connected, rich girls to go there that are not necessarily magically talented. So maybe they're going to have a track for the lawyers and then a track for the eels for the magically talented. But the books only give us a few snippets about Aretuza, and it's certainly not as sinister a place as this. In the time of contempt, we find out there is an Aretuza and that there is an admission fee, and that's about it. No mention of eels, and there's every indication that if it had that kind of sinister background, that it wouldn't have been mentioned in the time of contempt at all, because of the context that it's mentioned. But I'm not going to tell you that because that'll be spoilery for season 2 unnecessarily. But it's fair to say that this is a totally show thing. And it, makes Tissaia a very gray, if not dark, character. She may be the closest thing that Yen has to a mother figure, but mothers don't kill their babies. Moreover, maybe that this has some parallels to the Trial of the Grasses, so 30 to 40% of Witcher novices do not survive the Trial of the Grasses. If they've survived the physical trials, about 35% of them won't survive the Trial of the Grasses. And maybe that is kind of the background and context that the writers for Netflix are trying to use for this Aretuza scene. And while Yennefer does go back to her at the end of the season and seems to look to Tissaia for some guidance, and in the last scene, Tissaia essentially seems to urge Yennefer to commit suicide for a greater cause. That's just one more bit of Tissaia playing God and being manipulative and being quite awful. Now, MyAnna Burning just does an awesome job in this role as Tissia Devries, the rectress of Aretuza, and she makes her a likable character even though she does these dastardly deeds, and that's a mark of a great actress. And gamers will appreciate her acting if they realize that she was the voice actress for Anna Henrieta, the Duchess of Toussaint, in the Blood and Wine expansion of The Witcher 3. So the showrunner, Lauren S. Hissrich of The Witcher on Netflix, has said that in their show, they want to make sure that there's always a cost to any gain with magic. So there's a significant cost to doing magic is one of their writing rules. And it may not be conveyed in the books like that. There, to a certain extent in the games, that was conveyed, for instance, in the Yennefer scene where she destroys the garden to do necromancy on this person who's called Craven, or is also, we find out his name is Skull. And that she had to destroy the garden to speak to the dead man. Or in the games, for instance, you have to exert stamina to do signs, which are small magical spells. And there is some evidence in the books that, for instance, Ciri has a nosebleed, or Yennefer at some times when she's doing magic, she suffers physical exhaustion or worse. But nothing to the extent where people give their lives to do a spell, for example, or a hand is withered to raise a rock as they do in Aretuza. But maybe this whole theme of, to have sorceresses, we have to destroy some other girls. This sacrificing one life for the other is pretty morally black, but maybe it makes for a horrific story. Let's hear the last clip from episode 7, where Yennefer takes the novices down to the windmill and the eel chamber and warns them of their fate. Subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. We do tips and tricks for the Witcher games, as well as cover the Witcher Netflix series. Check out the latest news on whether Luke Skywalker, actor Mark Hamill, will be the next Vesemir.